Anyway, so at this point, they've had to kill Richard Roundtree, and they've had to kill Sex Machine, they've had to kill the dad, and they've had to kill his son. So it's just George Clooney and the daughter, and the daughter's like, oh god, I only have 2 bullets left in my revolver, and and oh yeah, and like the tips, it's like a 22, and, like the tips have crosses carved in them, whatever, and so they get out there and they're like, oh god, and they, do the back-to-back thing, and she's like, oh god, and the sun comes up, and all the bullet holes in the wall, sunlight comes through them, and of course the vampires, they're like, getting burned and shit, and so they're like, oh yeah, we got maybe, so they shoot a couple holes in the wall, right, and then, this is the third appearance of Cheech, he, like, comes up, and it turns out Cheech was the dude that he needed to meet in Mexico that was going to give them the money and shit. And, afterwards they have this huge fight, and he's just like, oh, I didn't know, never been in this bar, I've just seen it. And so Cheech used, like, the fucking, like, 10-gauge shotgun, shoots a hole in the door, kicks it open, and both of them run out, and, like, at this point, all the sunlight comes in, hits a disco ball, right? And the sunlight goes everywhere, and they come out, and everybody just explodes. All the vampires just explode. This isn't a normal explosion. This is an explosion that I would expect if somebody took a carload of C4 and took it onto an oil well and detonated it. That is how big this explosion is. Of all these vampires. Just anyway, so they're all exploding. End of movie. So, pretty decent movie, but I felt like it kind of ripped off the movie, which, in my personal opinion, is one of my favorite movies. It's called Zombie Strippers. Um, I'm not technically ripping it off because Zombie Strippers came out after Dusk Till Dawn, but I'm just going to explain it. Zombie Strippers will pick to you here. Now, this is a very poorly shot movie. It's incredibly low budget, and it's actually a pretty horrible movie, but it's one of them that's just, like, so horrible, it's like, that was pretty funny. And so, basically, first off, it involves a branch of military. Now, to my personal knowledge, I don't know what it is, because, like, a few times throughout the movie, they get called army guys, which really pisses me off, people that call them army guys, but they're definitely wearing, like, marine, symbols, and one of them screams Semper Fi. Anyway, and they're just wearing BDU pants, most of them, and they're just, like, shirtless, and there's a couple of chicks just wearing, like, wife beaters, and one of them is Francis from Left 4 Dead. Like, he has the mohawk, he has a vest, and he just kind of, like, he sounds and facially looks just like Francis. Anyway, so apparently I'm just gonna say the army because the movie is totally unspecific on that. They don't even really try. They don't even know what they are. So I'm just gonna say, the army was, like, trying to develop some super soldier drug, and that turned out being the zombie virus. But apparently the zombie virus only affects men. Well, it affects everybody, but it turns men into your typical, Shaun of the Dead, Zombieland, Left 4 Dead style zombies of crazy, totally gone, killing people. And it turns females into looking like zombies and, wanting to eat people and shit, but, and apparently immortality. But it lets them keep their consciousness and they still function like normal people, right? So basically, one of the soldiers gets a hold of this stuff accidentally, injects himself with it, turns into a zombie, but he's not technically a zombie yet, because zombie movies don't know how to do timing. And so, like, just for God knows what reason, in his final hours of being a sane human being, runs over to the local strip joint, comes in there and just jumps on stage and bites a stripper. And he dies. No, 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 no. He does not die. They throw him in the basement, and then the guy who runs the strip club realizes, oh, hidey hey, hidey ho, mercy, mercy me, these zombies aren't dying. That means that if all of my strippers become zombies, they will be immortal and will never stop making me money, and guys find the whole zombie thing really hot, apparently. So, he gets out there, and he's like, okay, so I want all of my strippers to get bitten by this, thing so they can become zombies. And, like, one of them is, like, a Christian, and she's like, oh, but I'm just using the money to get through college, it's against my religion to be a zombie. So, whatever, they have their fun, they, just zombie strippers, like, half that movie is just chicks dressed up in zombie makeup, bouncing up and down with their shirts off. Anyway, so uh, at this point, and for a while, like what they do is to feed the zombie strippers is like at the end of the night, if there's a guy who hasn't been given much money, they basically just have one of the strippers feed on him. He becomes a zombie, and they throw him in this janky little cage they made down in the basement, which is by the end of the movie totally full. And of course, in movie prison bar fashion, the bars themselves are about like this wide apart. Keep that in mind. And so all that happens, and then finally the Christian chick is like, "Oh hey, I do want to be a zombie. I do." And so she goes down there. Now instead of just like opening the cage, closing it behind her, and getting in, or just like sticking an arm in, because once again the bars are like this far apart, she just decides to unlock the gate, open it, and just sort of stand there. So all the zombies get out, and everybody that works at the strip club is like, "Oh, mercy me!" So they go and they hole up in some guy's office, and they get some guns, and that is 10 pounds of ridiculousness right there. And then probably the best part of this movie is like there's two strippers there who aren't zombies, and had a rivalry, or have a rivalry, I guess. And so they're like deciding to deal it out now. They do some crazy fight, like one of them rips off the other one's leg, one of them gets a tit ripped off, and that's all good and fine. And then one of them like sticks golf balls in her vag and just like shoots them at the other chick, and like oh yeah, it shoots through her forehead, and she's like, "Oh, you think that's bad? Check this out," and goes, gets pool balls, sticks them in her gooch, and then shoots him, and like chick dodges, and that dude behind him just gets like boom right in the chest, and he dies. And I don't remember the rest of the movie other than the fact that it ended with with the Marine Army coming in and killing all the zombies and silly circles happening. And yeah, so that is my synopsis for the movie Dusk Till Dawn. Um, so leave a comment or response if you think I should keep doing these every couple of weeks.